All right, folks, what's good? We are back. Another episode, Ain't No Seats podcast. And, folks, the Kansas basketball Jayhawks put on an absolute clinic last night. Absolutely steamrolled the in-state rival, K-State. It was beautiful to see. B-Turn, AB. B-Turn, I'll start with you. How we started last pod talking about how great it was to just kind of sit back and relax, watch a game, not stress about losing. But this one was just like, it wasn't really relaxing. It was just like, I don't know. I was having so much fun watching a basketball game for the first time in a really, I mean, this team's been fun, but I was like, it was just fun the entire time. There was really no time I was stressed or anything. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I know. Not much defense played, and we were obviously awesome the whole game. I think we probably scored 50 in both halves, and you score 53 in the first half, and you're only up 10, which was kind of shocking to me. But yeah, the trio of, we talked about it for a few weeks now, the trio of Jalen, CB, and Och has been incredible. And obviously, if they play like that, I mean, I don't know who in the country can beat us.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it many times. It's like, what if we have a game where CB, Och, Jalen, all those guys click at the same time and things go well? Now, we didn't really get Dave last night, so we still kind of can say that whole thing. Like, what if those four guys all click at the same time? It's hard to ask for that, but yeah, I mean, you saw last night where if you were going to kind of lay out, okay, what's this team's route to the national championship? How can they get there? It's a tall task, but I think that route is those guys playing at that close to that level in March. Like, can't expect that every night, but to just get some sort of that production out of those guys in March is the key, I think, to this team making a deep run. And it was just super exciting to see because I really don't think we've had a game where all three of them played that well, shot it that well. We're just locked in for 40 minutes straight. And AB, no drought. We did not go on an offensive drought, which we talked about last episode. And those guys weren't going to let it happen. If there were moments we missed shots, one of them would hit a shot.
It's about time. It was good to see that. We'll be shoot like 65% for the game, and it never really dropped below that. I mean, that was insane. So at halftime, we were up, 10? Is that what it was? Yep. We were shooting like 66%, and K-State was right around 40, and I was like a little bit scared because I didn't know how much better we could play, how much we could keep that going for a full game, but shit, I mean, maybe K-State just sucks on defense, but good God, you tweeted it last night, just a beautiful display of basketball.
Yeah, they finished 41. We finished 41 of 64 from the floor, 64%, and 15 of 24 from three, 63%. So yeah, it was like the second half was like a mirror image of the first half. Like you didn't think we could keep it up and kind of thought we'd come back down to earth in the second half. And just that big three of Jalen, CB, and Och was insane. Yeah. Those three combined they had 60 points, 24 of 34 from the floor, 10 of 14 from three combined. Like, it was amazing seeing Jalen. I mean, it was just refreshing seeing him knock down jumpers again. He was 3 of 4 from three, and we've kind of talked about how he's not going to stay around that 20% clip from three. He's obviously going to start making jump shots. And CB had 27 and 5, and Och had 23, 7 and 5. So it's like two all-league guys, first team all-league, probably going to be – Och will be a first-rounder. I don't know. CB eventually will, but those guys eventually going to be – I mean, all three are NBA guys, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Jalen to me that has just blown my mind is he got off to that rough start, and I think it kind of like made people forget how good he was last year. And now all of a sudden he's putting up easily first team all Big 12 type numbers. And I don't think he's going to get that. I don't think he's going to get that award or get that selection. I think there's other guys that'll get it, but it's like, if you really just look at conference play, the numbers Jalen Wilson's putting up for a team that's clearly the best team in the conference, it's crazy. I mean, he's kind of slept on, which is weird because he was at times last year, he was like the star of our team, which, I mean, it's just CB and Och have obviously taken such a big jump where I think Jalen's kind of flew under the radar, but it would be huge if we kind of get to just consistently see this style of Jalen the rest of the year. But we always say like guard play is the key in March. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really think of this type of guard play being the key to March. Like, you're thinking of point guards handling ball. So like AB, You're the big March guy. Is this style of like? Do we have any examples of former national title teams that have kind of had this style of guard play, where it's like three players that are very similar players, kind of all wings? There's no dominant ball handler of the group that's been good enough to lead your team all the way to a Final Four. Trying to think of that today.
Say like 08 KU. I mean, I felt like we had like multiple guys handling the ball, and it was never really like a single point guard. I know Sharon, Mario, Russell, but like those are three guys right there that were on the court 30 minutes a game at least. So I don't know. I'm really bad at this, like looking back at old champions and picking apart their roster, but
it was an absurd ask by me to throw you on the spot like that, but go ahead.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, point guard's obviously the most important thing. We've seen it for years, but it's not like we have bad point guard play. It's not setting us back, which I think would be a worry, but I'm comfortable, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but DeJuan and Joe have been playing just fine enough to kind of keep the tempo going, get the ball in the hands of the right players, and go from there.
And I feel like we probably talked about this, but like, I don't know about you guys, but the way I'm viewing DeJuan, and I think B-Turn, you've probably said this, it's like, I don't think people were melting down about Russell Robinson. And I mean, Russell Robinson is obviously a senior. He'd been around the program. He'd started for 2 years, but I feel like him and DeJuan play an incredibly similar role, where the difference is DeJuan is the guy always playing crunch time minutes, where Sharon played a lot of crunch time minutes that year. But still, like, when you're surrounded with so much talent like DeJuan is, it's okay to not be an electric scorer. And I think if he does the things Bill Self loves, which we said, and so if he can just continue to be solid, and he was really good last night, I thought. So I don't know. I just I'm kind of talking myself into, we'll get more into the point guard talk, but I'm just talking myself into, like, we won a national title with Russell Robinson. Like, why can't we make a run with DeJuan Harris? You don't have to have an All-American point guard to make a Final Four run.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty good comparison. I mean, it's not Russell would hit occasional jumpers, and I just looked, he was a 31% 3-point shooter senior year when we won it all. So it's like, the thing with DeJuan is he doesn't hurt you. Like, when does he really hurt you? He doesn't make terrible decisions. He has the best assist turnover ratio in the Big 12, I think, still.
Yes.
Like, it's just like an added bonus. Like, when he hits a jump shot, he knocks down a wide open jump shot. So it's like,
yeah.
And I just said, like, we have 3 NBA level wing guards, whatever you want to call them. So it's like, we don't need DeJuan to be this electric scorer that for some reason our fans want him to be. It's like, it kind of feels like our fan base is just spoiled, maybe point guard wise, because it's like we went from Frank, Dite, Devon Dotson. I mean, we've obviously had guys before that, Sharon, Tyshawn, things like that. So it's like, maybe we're spoiled point guard wise, but I don't really know what they want from DeJuan right now, because it's like, a lot of fans want Remy for March, which is obviously, we get that, but right now, who's going to play over DeJuan? I mean, I feel like we wouldn't be that good defensively without him, and I think Joe's been a great spark off the bench. Joe was great last March for Drake, so maybe he'll do that late for us this year. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I was hanging out with some of those guys after the game last night, and one of the guys was like, dude, we get so mad about the DeJuan slander. Like, we hate it because he's such a good kid and he works so hard and we love him. Like, those dudes were pissed off about it. So it's like, dude, I really don't get where the slander comes from, because he doesn't really make mistakes. He takes care of the ball, gets guys open looks, and it's not like he's the worst jump shooter in the country. He kind of knocks down occasional ones. Yeah.
And I mean, I've thought that the whole year, like, thinking about how frustrating would it be to be DeJuan Harris, who you're starting point guard on a team that's 22-4, 23-4. You lead the Big 12 by 2 games. And you get on Twitter, and hopefully he's not reading Twitter like we are, but it's like you're getting slandered all the time. And it's like, you're right. It's not like he's making big mistakes. And I honestly think DeJuan makes so few mistakes. Now, this is a little bit of spin zone, so follow me here. I think he makes so few mistakes that when he makes a mistake, it's like you're ultra disappointed, because it's like, I don't know an analogy to make, but it's like the fact that he never turns the ball over. So when he does at the end of the first half in West Virginia dribble the ball off his foot, you're like, oh, this guy sucks. But it's like, yeah, it just seems crazy because it's like Tiger hitting a bat. Okay. Wild comparison. But it's like Tiger hitting a
Eldrick.
I was going to compare him to your boy LeBron and be like, I mean, he's been awesome for 18 years. He had a bad series against Dallas, and everyone still harps on for that, me in particular. But it's like you just get so used to him putting up 30 and 7 a night or whatever it is, that when he has 2 or 3 bad games in a row, a couple bad plays in a row, it's like it's so easy to target that because you never get the chance to.
I love that we just compared DeJuan to LeBron and Tiger Woods, but it's what I'm saying. It's like very micro version of that, where it's like DeJuan just comes in, gets his assist, plays solid defense, and it's like he kind of blends in so well that you're not loving him throughout the game, but you're never really hating him. So when he does kind of have a stretch of bad play, it's like it really stands out. And I think that's part of the reason the fan base has had such a hard time. I don't know. It's weird because he's extremely likable. Like there's just nothing. And I get it. I was guilty of kind of being like, man, I like DeJuan. He needs to play, but does he need to play 35 minutes? But I think we've been a broken record on this. But I think what we've seen the last few weeks is it's like, accept it. This is it. This is who we're going in as. So just either complain for the rest of the year and pretend you're a better coach than Bill Self, or just go all in on DeJuan Harris being a really good point guard at everything besides maybe scoring. And that's okay because he plays with Ochai, CB, Jalen, and Dave. Like, so that's where I'm at.
And also it's like we love Joe. Like Joe's been awesome lately, but what has Joe really done to separate himself from DeJuan anyways? It's not like Joe's coming in lighting it up, like hitting a bunch of threes, like shooting this crazy percentage from the floor. And DeJuan, I think something that's super underrated with this team is the chemistry thing with DeJuan. It's like him, Och, and CB, they played for Mocan together. CB and him have played together since they were kids. Like CB was a huge reason DeJuan came here. So it's like that chemistry thing is huge, and they all played together last year, like have a whole year under their belt playing together. So it's like I feel like that's a super underrated part people don't really talk about. And it's like last night he had 6 points, 7 assists. He doesn't take terrible shots. Like I feel like the shots he misses are floaters or layups, or it's not like he's chucking shots. Like he'll pass up wide open shots and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think go ahead.
I will say, like, I don't want him to pass up wide open shots. Like, I think that's where he can hurt us, where if a defense is going to just completely ignore him, that's where we are screwed, because then they're sagging down on Dave. They're helping off on Oates. They're helping off on CB. So, like, DeJuan, and I think this is what to go back to Russell Robinson, I think what Russell Robinson did good is he just picked his spots. Like, he wasn't going to go force a shot, which I think is what you were kind of saying. Like, DeJuan doesn't go force shots, but he has to be ready to shoot when he gets that open look, because if he's not, then teams are just going to continue to ignore him, and that's where he really hurts our offense. So, but yeah, you're right. I never really thought about the chemistry thing, but there are some plays where he makes with CB where it's like, I don't know if anyone else in the gym really saw that coming. Like DeJuan and him just have a pretty good chemistry when it comes to like throwing lobs and fast breaks and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
DeJuan's 31% from 3 this year, by the way, same as Russell Robinson. And
wow,
I mean Russell, that was probably obviously a better team. We had probably, I mean, I guess a more balanced team scoring wise, but I think DeJuan, like they're both they can be lockdown defenders when they want to be. And I just don't get where the DeJuan hate comes from. Like we said, I don't know who would play over him. Remy's obviously hurt, doesn't even play, not on the floor. So it's like it's not like Joe's this all-American type guard that has been going nuts all year. So it's like,
and
I'll never understand the DeJuan hate. And I'm not sure what he can do to get that hatred away from our fans almost.
And I don't want this to sound like Joe doesn't deserve slander either. Like what Joe's been able to do, you know how hard it is to sit on the bench all season, have Bill Self be mentally in your head for every time you make a mistake, he got pulled immediately, and he's like battled through that and continued to work really hard in practice. That's been all the talk, is that this dude never pouted, he never gave up, and he's now, if we're all in agreement that Remy's probably not coming back, it's like Joe is our guy. Joe is our backup point guard, and he's been good. But he also, I think it's unfair when people are like, Joe should be starting or Joe should be playing. I don't know if people say starting, but they're like, Joe should be playing just as many minutes as DeJuan. It's just like, that's unrealistic and honestly kind of unfair to Joe. Joe's a great spark off the bench. AB, you mentioned that play. What was that last night where he can get up the floor so quick. Insane. Yeah. And it's like, I love that type of spark off the bench where like maybe the offense is kind of slowing down, you're lagging, and all of a sudden Joe breaks free for a fast break. And I feel like he's had like steals multiple games where it's kind of been in big moments. That West Virginia steal where they didn't even catch it on camera, which was bananas, but he just snuck in and got it. So I don't know. I love Joe. I've loved him all year. I think I kind of just hate the whole point guard thing going on with KU right now. The takes, the fan base opinions.
Yeah. Well, it's probably. Do you guys think it's just because people had such high expectations for Remy at the point guard position going into it, and then he just hasn't really done shit all year? So people are what they expected going into the year. They're just not transforming their opinion into what we actually have now. Because I mean, people still beg for Remy. What's the fucking point? Honestly, like what is it going to improve that? Like we have the most efficient offense analytically with Bill Self that since 2017, and that team was sick.
That's incredible.
It's like, so like if Remy's going to come in, we're going to get worse defensively and marginally better offensively. Like I don't get it. So like quit trying to expect DeJuan and Joe to put up Remy numbers or what we thought Remy was going to do back in like September, and just appreciate what they are doing, because we have, like you guys have said 100 times, 3 other guys that can put up 25 at any point, any game.
Dude, is it not crazy that he was Big 12 preseason player of the year? Like he came into a stack. Everyone says it's the best conference in the country. There's 3 top 10 teams right now. And like KU's a 1 seed. Baylor could be somehow a 1 seed, Texas a 2 seed. And Remy Martin transfers into the Big 12 with all these good ass players and his name Big 12 preseason player of the year. And we're this good without him.
Yeah, it is crazy. And did you guys see me? I threw out a tweet last week that was like, hey, so if KU wins the Big 12 by 2+ games, like who wins Big 12 Coach of the Year, Bill Self or Mark Adams? I think it's Mark Adams. You're not going to catch me. You're not going to catch me being mad about Mark Adams winning the Big 12. But when you think about what B-Turn just said, Bill Self's got a 2-game lead. He was picked to win the league. He's now going to win the league, but he was picked to win the league with the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year on his team, and now that player doesn't play, and he's still going to win the league by multiple games. So I'm not saying Bill Self should win it, but I will say, what if Tech drops another one and we win out? We win it by 3+ games. We go 16-2. I'm telling you, you got to consider old Bill if that scenario happens.
I know, especially when they got blown out in that USC game, and it's basically the same team as last year. Like it just shows you like how amazing he is at developing guys. Ochai's a National Player of the Year candidate. Probably wasn't going to get drafted last year. It would have been close, but now he's definitely a first rounder, maybe Lotto. CB he's turned into a first team all league guy. Jalen's obviously a lot better. So it's like, Bill developing guys. And I think I feel like we know it's tough some year to give Bill Big 12 Coach of the Year because he could probably win it every year just because we win the league so much. But I agree.
Kind of like LeBron deserving MVP every year, right?
We've had enough LeBron talk for tonight. Sorry.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, it's like we had a guy transfer in that was going to be, we thought, at least I thought he was a sure-in for 15 points a night, probably a all-league guy, maybe I thought he was the sole reason we were a national championship contender. Like we had the same team back, but we had a potential All-American point guard coming in. And he hasn't really done anything or contributed at all in Big 12 play. So it's like, obviously we're homers. We can make the argument for Bill to win it every single year. And especially this year, they're going to be a 1 seed and they might only lose 2 conference games.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Mark Adams deserves it. Him sweeping Texas was such a power move. He's awesome. He's fine. It's just I just remember thinking, like, everyone raves about the Big 12, Big 12, Big 12, Big 12, and now Bill Self has a chance to, if he wins Saturday, kind of dominate this league and won't even really get votes for Big 12 Coach of the Year, which is just, I don't know. It's tough. It's weird, but as a Kansas podcast, felt like we have to throw it out there and give a little fight for our guy Bill. Speaking of Bill, how hilarious was it that he very much wanted to score 100 last night? When CB hit that 3 to hit 100 and Bill just was like, timeout, walk-ons go in, I was like, yes, I love that. I don't know if that was like a spite Bruce Weber move, thinking it's the last time he'll go up against Bruce. I don't know if that's just like a statement wanting to put a 100 on the board, but I loved it because Bill does normally not do those things. You sometimes see T-Han in with 340 left in the game. So I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I saw the tweets about it. I actually left with like 4 minutes or so I kind of missed. I didn't even get to see that part of the game. So I guess if you guys have,
you noticed that, right, AB?
Absolutely, it was immediate
timeout.
Because I was like, for the final 3 or 4 minutes, I was kind of getting frustrated. Like, we're up. We've never been more in control of a game. Like, what is Ochai still doing out there? What is CB still doing out there? Like, what are we doing? And then just the immediate, like before the ball was even through the net, there was a timeout to get it going. So, after the fact, I did appreciate it, but it was definitely noticeable when you were watching it, no doubt.
Second time ever dropping 100+ against K-State. That's pretty wild.
And the last team to do it was, it's wild because we've just absolutely pumped them every year forever. But the fact that this team did it in the 2002 Kansas team, which is the most electric offense in Kansas history, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of cool to think about this team. Now, they're not that good offensively, but if you're trying to find positives with this team, it's like they hung 100 on Missouri and Kansas State this year. That's pretty cool. And like, if you look back on this team, that's going to be one thing you're remembering. Like, maybe we don't get it done in March, but it's like they had a really fun offense. So I love that. I know Bill maybe didn't love last night's pace of play or just the style of play, which Bruce Weber. I don't know if it was Bruce Weber or just his players or us. Why did they try and play at that pace? Like, they were allowing that to happen by just chucking threes. It was crazy.
That's what I think a lot of people were I feel like a lot of people were disappointed in our defensive effort, but it's like, if you're scoring every possession, who really like, you're exhausting that much energy on offense. It's not going to bother me. We won by 20. There was someone that tweeted me earlier that was like, it was a K-State fan too. I think they were like, with KU's defense, like, there's no way they can make a run in March. I'm like, dude, they just had 3 dudes combined for 60 and score 100+. Like, what do you want them to do? They covered.
Yeah. It was kind of annoying the fact that in the first halves this year against K-State, we gave up 93 points combined. That's not great, but it's also like Nigel Pack is
the best player in the country.
Dude turns into Steph Curry when he plays against us, which, God, I want him to transfer. And I think you said to Kansas, which, yes, I would take that.
I wanted to see what people said. How much – would he be the most hated person ever by that fan base? Can you imagine a K-State basketball player transferring to Kansas?
Imagine what they'd do to him when they storm the court if they ever beat KU. He's getting absolutely clotheslined. Shout out, what's his face? Can't remember his name, but
Nathan Powers.
Man.
Jamari.
Speaking of defense, though, AB, you've been all over it all year. KenPom efficiency rating, right? Like, got to be top. I don't know. Give us a stat. Give us an update, because it's fair to say that defense is the thing that can prevent this team from making a big run. So give us the update.
Yeah, we crept up a little bit after Westfall and then kind of dropped back a little bit last night. But I was looking at the numbers. It's 17 of the last 19 champions have been top 20 in both offense and defense. And the only 2 that weren't were Baylor last year, and they were 22nd, so they're right there. And then that UConn team, and was it 2014, where that tournament was just bananas and it was like a 7 and an 8 seed. So like,
and they're just such an outlier. It's
right.
Like hard to even,
So it's like, it is still concerning, I guess. But if you can put up 100 points, it's the numbers are gonna look worse than they actually are. Like you guys just said, like, if more points equals more shots equals,
So was Baylor 22 in offense?
Defense.
What? I thought they had like the best defensive team in the country last year, but I do think there's a little bit to like when your offense just clicks the way theirs did at times last year and like ours last night. It's like you don't try as hard defensively when you just feel pretty good about Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell going out and just getting a bucket. And it's like kind of how we were last night. I think Och and CB were kind of content just maybe playing a little less defense last night, knowing they were going to come down and hit a three in someone's face. So, yeah, I do like really get hung up on those little things though. Like numbers are numbers, and if you start to see a consistent trend over time, now 2 out of the last 8 didn't happen that way, so I guess but I don't know. Where are we defensively? Like 30?
I want to say we're like 35 is what it was last night. Obviously, that could have changed with games tonight, but
yeah.
I mean, it's all pretty close. We were in the top. I think we're 27 or 28 after Westphal. So, I mean, it can change quickly if we have a good 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
I mean, I feel like we used to talk about Och kind of being an elite defender, like the 2020 year when we should have won it all. He was really good, and last year we talked about him being. I just think he's exerting so much energy on offense too, where he doesn't really play defense. And then last night, it's like that game was just at a crazy pace, and every team. I mean, both teams were getting great looks, in transition. K-State knocked down a bunch of tough jumpers, but I still think. I mean, we've talked about it. I still think Bill can get these guys to buy in defensively. Like March is a whole different animal. It's like, who knows? These guys could start locking down in March. It's not like I don't think we're terrible defensively. Like I could see CB, Och, and Dewan locking down defensively, and I don't know. I just feel like Bill can get these guys to buy in eventually. I know it's late in the year, but I feel like he's gonna kind of imprint in their brain that you got to lock in defensively if you want to go on a run, because it's like
gotta guard somebody.
You're giving up 80 plus to K-State and 50 in the first half and 43 in the first half. Like you give up 40 or 50 in a tournament game in the first half, you're in trouble probably.
Yeah. All right, I got a scenario that just came to my mind as we talked about that. Now I think I know the answer. This is probably a dumb scenario, but so let's say we're in a second round of March. We are playing a team like Alabama. Electric offense when they're on. You know what I mean? Chucking threes. They make a ton of them. Would you rather, if I tell you it's a game in the 80s or 90s, or would you rather play like a low, grinded out, gross game that's in the 50s, low 60s? Like, which one are you wanting more? Because normally I think we'd say we want the low, grinded out, Bill Self let him out coach the guy in the final minute versus the offensive absolute shot for shot, just chaotic game. But I don't know. This year, are we leaning towards let's ride our offense and pray? Like, is that the obvious answer? AB?
I actually kind of disagree with that.
Yeah, that's why it's a scenario.
Well, it's just with the Alabama team specifically, I guess, but any team that's like their strength is offense, like I just trust our talent more than any 8 or 9 seed we're going to see. And if it's a lower scoring, lower possession game, I just trust, and I'm going to trust Bill more than any coach that we're going to go against in that scenario. So like, I just feel like there's more of a variance if you're playing a high scoring game where they hit a couple threes in a row late, where it's, we're up by 5 the whole game. They hit a couple shots, but if you pull out 5-point lead and it's a 62-57, that feels like it's more over than 87-82. No.
Yeah.
Especially with how electric our offense is. Like I would trust us to just outscore someone in a shootout than our defense to get stops late.
So which one do you lean on, B-Turn? You want the
high scoring. I just think we can outscore anyone. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough because, I mean, every other year we're saying we got to play low score and we got to get stops. Like, that's what Bill wants. But this is the rare time where maybe you do. I don't know. Just came to my mind as we were talking about defense and, like,
I mean, I trust Bill out coaching anyone, but I also would kind of be nervous about a game that came down to getting stops, I guess, if that's what you're asking. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically coming down to, can we outscore someone for 40 straight minutes, or can we grind a game out and just get more stops than them in the final 2 minutes of a game. Like,
I guess
don't
I'm
know.
looking at it differently though, like a combination of the two. Like I trust our offense to go outscore a team in a low scoring game. For Ochai and if there's only
Yeah.
60 points wins the game, like I trust Och, I trust CB, even Dave, Jalen, all those guys to just get a couple key baskets late
That's
to
true.
just pull ahead later where, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I didn't expect when you brought it up, I didn't expect to actually debate it, but
I'm 2 weeks in a row. I just came at you with fire scenarios. Speaking of March, let's get into a little bracketology. I mean, since we talked last week, things have really gone well for us. Auburn lost, Kentucky lost. We're pretty firmly on the one line. I don't think anyone's really questioning that right now. It's now. I mean, I think, does Lenardi have us Midwest, AB?
Yeah, I think we're 3 overall in the Midwest because Gonzaga and Arizona, they're not going to throw them in Chicago.
Yeah,
but it's not. I do have a question about that for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this in the shower today. I think that there's like a fairly decent chance that if we win on Saturday, that we can get up into like number 1 overall range. And I say that because Gonzaga, they got 2 games this week. And last time I called my shot on a Gonzaga loss when they were super good, it happened. BYU beat them a few years ago.
2020?
They go to San Francisco tomorrow, who's I think 25th in KenPom, I want to say. And then they go to St. Mary's on Saturday night, which is always a tough place for them. And I think they're ranked this week. So like their 2 toughest games of the year are probably their next 2. And
so
if they lose one of those, we saw with Auburn. So on Saturday with the selection committee thing, they said that there was a sizable gap between the top 3 and us. Like we were kind of just like the bottom one very clearly.
Yeah.
And then you saw Auburn lose on Saturday and we jumped them like immediately just by beating West Virginia. I don't even think we'd beaten West Virginia before we hopped them.
No.
So it's like if a loss changes that much that quickly, I don't know how big the gap is between Gonzaga, but if they're losing to a team that's 25th, 30th, in the rankings or analytically, gotta think that, with a top 10 win on the road for us, that would kind of make the margins closer. And we have opportunities down the road in the Big 12 that they don't in the West Coast. It's just a thought that came to my mind. So I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe I'm overthinking it. It probably won't happen. Gonzaga's sick. They'll probably win by 20 both nights. But I did get myself excited a little bit thinking about that.
What if they didn't win the conference tournament?
It's kind of the same scenario. They'd probably lose to one of those 2 teams.
Yeah,
I do think if Gonzaga loses another game, I mean, I know they've only got 2 losses, and one of them's the Duke, but Alabama's not in a great loss. I mean, Alabama's beaten some incredible teams this year, so it looks fine. But it's also like if you're going to give the number 1 overall seed to a team that plays that week of a conference schedule, you feel like they've got to go undefeated, right? Like I'd be interested to look back on other years where Gonzaga's I don't know. Was last year the only time they've been the number 1 overall? I'm sure they've been at other times, but I mean, I got to think the years they've probably ran the table or at least ran the final 15, 12 games of their season. So yeah, I think it's possible. And I mean, I was going to just throw that out there. If we win out, which I keep saying that like it's going to happen because I've talked myself into it, but it's like, if we win out, we are absolutely, in my mind, the number 2 overall seed. Like, I don't know if Gonzaga wins out and we win out. And I'm talking regular season, so I'm not even factoring Big 12 tournament. But, like, if we win out regular season, we should be the number 2 overall seed, at least heading into conference tournaments. Do you think that would be the case?
Probably. I mean, I'm not going to act like I know much about Arizona and they're like quad 1 wins or whatever, but I would just think with the conference that we're in overall as a whole, compared to the Pac-12, that we would probably hop them. But I mean, don't quote me on that. That's just me. I mean, assuming things.
Obviously, if they beat Baylor Saturday, like it gets super realistic that they do win out in the regular season. I mean, at TCU can be tough, but we don't lose at home much. And then if they do end up winning the Big 12 tournament, like they're probably going to end up beating 2 or 3 tournament teams, and you'd probably have to beat Tech or Baylor, who are both 2 seeds right now. So it's like the resume could still get a lot better too.
I mean, now I'm getting outrageous, but if we win out, including the Big 12 tournament, I think we should be the number 1 overall seed.
Even if Gonzaga does? I think
It'd be
they still
tough.
give it to Gonzaga just because
They probably would because it's
they
like if
haven't
you don't
lost in
lose,
forever.
yeah. But I mean, man,
even,
our
even
resume.
being number 2 would be like
Yeah.
a huge thing. Stay away from
I
Gonzaga's side.
really want. Yeah, I want the 2. I want Midwest because so in the initial reveal that we saw this Saturday, we were East, right? And that had Kentucky as our 2 and Villanova as our 3. If Villanova beats Kentucky, we're playing Villanova in the Elite 8 game in Philadelphia, which, I mean,
saw
what an
some people
incredible
talking
track
about that.
record we have versus Villanova in the tournament. So that would go well.
Especially in the Elite 8.
Yeah. So, like, I think we want to maybe my goal, and we're getting picky because really I just want a 1 seed. But like if I'm getting picky, like the East seems scary because it seemed Kentucky could probably go Chicago or East. But if they're giving Villanova the East, that's a terrifying thought with it being in Philly.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a pretty good chance we're the 1 in the Midwest. Am I wrong, AB? Like I feel like we're going to be a 1 and we're going to end up being like the 2nd or 3rd overall number 1. So it's like we talked about earlier, Arizona would probably get the South or whatever. Wisconsin or Gonzaga would get the West, and then that would leave us with probably the Midwest, right?
Auburn's been getting the Midwest.
Yeah,
there's still a lot
true.
to happen too. I mean, if we lose on Saturday, we're having a completely different conversation. If we're even because I mean, shit. What if we lose on Saturday? Does Baylor hop us?
I know because I think they're the first 2 seed right now. At least last time I looked, they were the
first or 2nd.
They were the 5th overall seed. So,
and if Auburn was dropping from 2 to 4 after a loss to Florida, like I mean, obviously a loss to Baylor isn't that bad, all things considered.
Yeah,
but when Baylor's right there, I could absolutely see them hopping us because they'll just use that they weren't healthy when they played us the first time. And then they beat us. But, I mean, it's probably just we're talking about this for no reason because if one of those teams is getting a 1 seed, it's probably going to come down to the championship in Kansas City, right?
Yeah, because it's true. Like how much does a loss in Waco against a top 10 team really hurt us?
It doesn't really hurt us. It's more of like a benefit to them, I would think.
Yeah. It's the fact that it's against Baylor.
Yeah.
It's us losing and them adding an incredible win to their resume that hurts us the most. So,
if we lose Saturday, do you guys think we drop? Like, what would you guess? If we lose Saturday, do we go to a 2 and Baylor hops us?
I think Purdue would hop us.
Okay. Just because, like, Baylor's the 5th overall, and they would be beating.
Are they right now? They're the 5th overall right now over Purdue.
I thought they were, because they were the first number 2 seed, and then I'm gonna look at Lenardi's thing, but,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously it's fun to talk about this stuff, but even if we win Saturday, we could be absolutely hype, just going nuts, and then we lose at TCU, and now you're like, what do we do now? So it's kind of crazy.
Lenardi's 5 is Baylor, 6 is Kentucky, 7 Purdue, 8 Tech. So Baylor's the first 2 seed right now, according to Lenardi.
So if that's the case, then I mean, obviously I don't know the gap between them, but I would think that they would probably hop onto the 1 line. I don't know if they'd replace us necessarily, but I mean,
what are the odds?
Like 3 through 6 is pretty wide open right now.
What are the odds of getting 2 Big 12 teams as 1 seeds?
Could
possible.
Baylor
Arizona
wins. Yeah, Baylor wins Saturday, and then either of us win in Kansas City. I would think both teams have a strong enough resume, but I don't know. That's the problem with bracketology at this point because it really doesn't matter until championship week. But there's just so much that could theoretically happen. But it's fun to talk about. I could definitely see it.
All right, so we asked we asked people to send in questions, and honestly, we're probably not going to have time to answer all of them. But one from Breck Fox, shout out. He asked when we get to tourney time in March. What's a 3 or 4 seed team that scares you? I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. What's a 3 or 4 seed team that scares you in the second weekend?
I feel like it would be 4 or 5, right?
So he said 3-4 seed, but we just saw how easy we can drop to a 2 if we lose this weekend. So
I've got a scenario. If we're Midwest playing Wisconsin in Chicago, where it's probably going to be a good amount of Wisconsin fans. I don't think they're that great, but they do have studs on that team. That annoying mofo Brad Davison that's been there for a decade and a half. I can't think of the dude's name. Yeah.
They've got a concussed coach, though. I mean, he got absolutely rocked by Juwan Howard. So,
but that scenario in general with like playing in Chicago, like an hour and a half away from their campus.
I'll tell you mine. Mine, I think, is Tennessee. I watched them against Kentucky last week. They're good. And if they're I think they're on a 3 or 4 line right now, they kind of terrify me. Barnes just always has athletic, fast, big dudes that I think could give us problems. So Tennessee is absolutely a team that I'm kind of worried about if they pop up on our bracket. Wisconsin, I don't know. Wisconsin, I'd probably be happy about but they do have a potential player of the year, and they have Brad Davison, who would be just wild. This is the typical guy to make every shot he takes against us in the tournament. So,
I think when we talked about this question before the pod, I think Houston immediately popped in my mind. I feel like that's a terrible matchup for us. I think they're super good defensively. I think their guards are really good, Sasser and Edwards, and then they have just super athletic bigs. So they would scare me because we talked about maybe getting in a shootout, like high scoring or low score. I feel like they could defend us, and they would be tough to defend. So I think Houston scares me.
Yeah, and I know we're back and forth on analytics, but they're top 5.
What are you laughing about?
I'm sorry.
Ryan said he'd be pumped to play Houston a couple weeks ago.
Who did?
Ryan did.
I did.
They're scared. Yeah. They're top 7 in both KenPom and Torvik. Their analytics love them. Is what it is.
Did analytics love them last year?
I think so.
Because I hated on Houston all year last year too, but people forget they made the Final Four and didn't play. I mean, they didn't play one good team for the final 3 months of the season. Literally.
That would remind me of Wichita State when we lost to them in the second round. How were they a 7 or a 10?
I think they were a 7. Yeah.
So they were a 7 seed and they were 10th in KenPom or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing it would remind me of, I guess. It's just a highly rated analytic team that doesn't play a lot of competition in the regular season, so they don't build their resume too much, but they're sneaky way better than their seed line would show.
I mean, they're the 6th ranked KenPom team.
Being
probably 4 or 5. It's crazy.
It's insane.
They use the 5th. They're kind of right on our ass KenPom wise. So
I
just think they're
stop
scary.
Questioning KenPom.
I just think they're scary athletically. I guess they would be able to defend us, and they would score. I feel like they would score a lot of points on us just because we're not great defensively.
They're second in Torvik, and the gap between them and Gonzaga is smaller than the gap between Houston and us.
That's certainly concerning.
That's a terrifying Sweet 16 matchup if it happens.
I think
especially if we're in San Antonio or something, which I don't think is likely, but it's possible.
I just can already picture them being our 4 or 5, and I'd be pissed. I'd be freaking out watching brackets, watching the selection show, which is crazy how close Selection Sunday is.
I know. I have Jim Gaffigan performing a comedy show behind him or something. He can't stop giggling.
No, I'm just
no shit.
I'm just laughing that.
No, when I first said Houston and you started laughing, I thought about the bracketology that dude tweeted the other day. Where he had,
oh my God.
I think he had Houston as the 1 or 2 seed.
Dude, it was so funny. He had us as a 3 seed.
It was tough.
Was
it a troll
overall?
No.
Oh man, I feel bad.
But he had 67 followers, and his bio was expert bracket. I mean, I don't even know how that guy's bracket made our timeline, but I wanted to be mad at it, but I just couldn't stop laughing when I saw Houston on the 1 line. But
the thing, what if he put 2 days of work into that, 48 hours? He's got his glasses on, studying analytics, looking.
He's probably. I mean, he could be like Jesse Newell, who just bases it big time on things like KenPom, Torvik, those things. I don't know. Maybe shot Houston quality. Is a 1 seed looking at shot quality. But yeah,
was it my guy on YouTube that would every single day for the month leading up to March would look at bracketology and then predict the bracket from there?
Dude, me and AB used to sit at his house and watch this kid on YouTube.
Oh, I remember this.
He
It's
would
like
do
Super
his own
Celtic 24 or something.
bracketology.
You guys
then
bullied
he-
him.
No, we didn't. We didn't say a word.
I
No,
watched
no,
every
like-
video he put out.
We
I
were
feel
his
like we
biggest
made-
fans.
I feel like we made fun of him a lot.
Well, we did. He created a
Point.
new.
Yeah.
He created a new bracket every day and filled out that bracket and gave analysis on every hypothetical game. It was
Wasn't the video
incredible.
An hour, like an
Phenomenal.
hour long.
Yeah, dude. They're
Yes.
like 20, 30 minutes each, and he would just like Gonzaga,
Ugh.
Prairie View, A&M potentially. He'd go through the play-in games, everything. It was fantastic.
He'd like
I gotta
pick
find
big
him.
up.
If he's still going, then I gotta watch one of those tonight.
He'd pick like big upsets. He'd be like, "Hey, I really like this 9 seed Florida State in this matchup." It was like, dude, which is what we're doing right now. So I don't know why we're making
Right.
fun of him, but it's like
Right.
it's so fun to make up hypotheticals for brackets. Like that's why March is the best. But
Can you imagine getting on his YouTube and he has like 1 million subscribers now?
I need you to find him, and I need to see his analysis for this season.
And
I
I'm
gotta
not
start
even
looking at him
trying-
now.
I'm not even trying to be a dick, but how boring is that kid's life? Like he sat there all day making brackets. Like he probably went over the matchups before he even made the video. Like that's his whole day probably consisted of brackets.
I don't know. I'm kind of jealous if that
Yes.
Y'all can't
Is
see
it-
him. Super
what's-
Celtic 24, baby.
new.
7,000.
I thought
7.26 subscribers.
Like,
7.26,000.
Go.
what a stud. Okay,
He's
let's
going,
wrap
looking-
this
looking
up.
like every 3 or 4 days. He had
Big game Saturday.
He's
I don't
doing
know
it.
about that. Yeah, dude. He put one up yesterday. Bracketology
Yeah,
we might-
update.
We might have to do a live video of us watching his video.
You guys want to hear his
Um,
Elite Eight?
Yes, quickly.
Arizona, Wisconsin, KU, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Duke, Auburn, Villanova. It's chalky.
Chalk, but he likes Villanova to play in Philly, so that's an
Mhm.
interesting pick. All right, we got a few minutes left here. Let's do a little Baylor preview. I've kind of hinted at it for the last 2 weeks. I'm telling you guys right now, and AB, I want you, if you don't have it, to find me the line or Ken Palm projection for that. I just think the Hawks are going to win. It's a Bill Self. It's what he does. He wins these games late in the Big 12 season. It's a game that essentially it doesn't officially clinch the league, but it pretty much does. I get the vibe that if this team is going to be dangerous in March, like we hope they are, I think they're going to win. And we killed them like 3 weeks ago. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Shot quality, dude. 50%.
Yeah.
Shot
Either way.
quality.
Yeah.
It was
Uh,
closer than I thought.
So B-turn, am I too confident? Where are you feeling?
I think it kind of depends. Like, yeah, we blew them out a few weeks ago, but I think it could be a completely different Baylor team if LJ Cryer plays. I think their guards are amazing, and it's a massive game, like top 10 matchup in Waco. Their crowd's going to be nuts because if they win, Big 12 race is back. Like, we're 1 game up. We split the season series. There's going to be 3 games to play, and we're at TCU and Texas, so it's like Big 12 race would be back. I don't know. Flagler, watching Flagler on Monday, that dude can get hot super quick. Kendall Brown's pretty good. Akinjo sucked against us, and I think he's a huge factor too because I think Fran said his knee was messed up. He looked terrible against Oklahoma State. So if he's not healthy, and I don't know the update on Cryer at all, like he didn't play against Oklahoma State. I think he was close to going, but he didn't end up playing. And then I know Sohan, I don't know his first name for Baylor. Like some people have him as a lottery pick, and he's like their yeah.
Wow.
So some people have him, or he's like their. I don't even know if he starts or not, but he's like their 6th or 7th leading scorer. So I think, and then Matthew Meyer will probably hit 10 threes just because I hate him so much. But it's just a huge game, top 10 matchup in Waco. We win. Big 12's obviously over. So I think it's going to be an awesome game. I don't really have a prediction, I guess.
So AB, what is the Ken Palm line?
He's got his +4. We've certainly won games where we were bigger underdogs. Certainly lost games we were bigger favorites. So
Wait,
I don't know. What'd you say?
What's the spread?
4. That was on
Really?
Torvik. I just had Torvik pulled up, so it might be different on Ken Palm, but they're usually pretty similar. I don't know. Like you said, we've seen this story a million times where we have a road game late in conference season where we're slight dogs and we go in and win. Texas Tech with Devontae, Baylor in 2020. Like, it just happens almost every year, it feels like. So
I would have absolutely hammered Bill +4 against Scott Drew.
I
give me the points.
I bet
all
that's
day.
down. I bet that's closer to like 1 or 2 by tip, but who
well,
knows?
It depends. On Friday, is Scott going to talk to Fran about missed calls? Or I guess it's Willis this time.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but they're probably going to get a really good whistle in Waco after the game we played in Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, that 30-point win, the whistle we got that allowed us to win by 30 was incredible. So they deserve a good whistle. I will say this. So obviously, I'm talking Bill Self history. It's just what he does. He wins these games. But also, how worried are we that we just shot 15 of what from 3? I mean,
24.
I'm a law of averages guy. It feels like we're going to clank some threes, but I don't necessarily think that's how we win the game Saturday. Like, I feel like it's going to be a grinded out, get stops type win. And I think that's what this team needs right now is get prepped for a game in March where your offense isn't at its best, because it's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely terrifying. So if you can go in and win one in Waco, you'll be about as battle tested as you can possibly get if the shots aren't falling. So I said that immediately last night after the game, like, ooh, that was fun. But did we just kind of hurt our chances with Baylor when it comes to law of averages? But we'll see.
I feel like we're gonna have to be pretty good defensively on Saturday. I don't know why. I just kind of got that feeling like Baylor's got a ton of scores, and we're obviously not going to duplicate that same performance the other day. And
Akinjo, what did he go? 1 of 11 against 0 of 11? Like something, he was horrible,
terrible.
So he's gonna make shots. So
I just think I don't know, like I feel like it could go a bunch of different ways, because it's like, what if Akinjo's hurt still and Cryer doesn't play? Like, I feel great about us, but what if Akinjo's back close to 100% and Cryer plays? Like Cryer's, I think he was their leading scorer. He's close. Him and Flagler both averaged 13, I think. So.
Yeah. I mean, my thing with Cryer is, even if he comes back, how effective is he really going to be? But he's still, I mean, you got to give him a lot of attention, which helps the other guys. So, but I'm not going to give my prediction of saying the Hawks win without you guys giving your prediction. So lay it out there. B-turn, who you got?
Like, are we taking the spread, or who do you want me to say who wins?
I want you to say both. I want you to take spread, and I want you to say who wins. If you're not ready, AB, go ahead.
I'm always going to take Bill Self +4, especially against Scott Drew in a huge, massive game. Like, Bill knows we can wrap up the Big 12. So I would definitely take the points, but I still don't feel confident saying we're going to win. So I don't know. I will take KU +4. That's it.
All right. AB?
I'll take Baylor, and I don't think it'll be the worst thing in the world. I mean, if we win Saturday, like we've talked about, we're probably going to win out in the regular season. Like, it gets to a point where, with the schedule we have, I wouldn't hate a loss to kind of get us off, because it would be like a 10, 11, 12 game win streak, something like that, going into the tournament. Like, kind of set us back, wake us up a little bit. Not that I'm rooting for us to lose. Obviously, if they win, I'll be as juiced as anyone. But I don't know. It's tough to pick Scott Drew over Bill Self. But I'll take Baylor by 5. I guess.
I think you definitely. I like that take. I mean, if you're gonna pick one, say we lose one more game before March,
this is the one.
I'd rather it be this one than losing Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament, just because winning the Big 12 tournament is just fun. Like, if you're gonna enjoy championship week, you want to be there and you want to be in it. So and it's hard to believe this team, if they win out and then win the Big 12 tournament, like, are they winning their final 20 games of the season? Like, I don't know. So don't hate that. I think we're gonna be fine either way. The key is gonna just be win at TCU. Do not somehow choke away this conference championship. But
that's a game that I'm going to say we win by 20 points at TCU.
I was looking at their past games. We've been saying they're kind of scary. They have been stinky.
Iowa State at home. I know Iowa State's a tournament team, but Iowa State's bad, man. They're not very good.
Yeah. All right.
I could see our fans kind of being like melting down if we lose Saturday, just because the Big 12 race would get tighter. But I don't like sometimes losing isn't the worst thing ever, like you guys said, to a top 10 team at home. They're playing. I mean, they're playing for a lot. They're playing for the Big 12, playing for a top seed. So it's like wouldn't be the worst loss in the world, and I don't, especially like you said, going into the tournament and stuff. So
right.
I don't think it would be a terrible thing, like AB said.
Well, I mean, even if they do lose Saturday and win the Big 12 tournament, then like they're probably still a 1 seed, if not the number 1, 2 seed, which is going to be in Chicago, Midwest. We avoid playing in Philly or San Antonio or against Gonzaga in their region. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't want this to come off as me rooting for a loss. Like you said, if there was one game to choose to lose, that would probably be the one.
Yeah.
But also we could still get that number 1 overall if we won this game. It's crazy as it sounds because Gonzaga probably won't lose to any team in their conference, but
only 6-point favorites tomorrow and Saturday.
I'll be locked in on Saturday. I think they absolutely smoke San Francisco, but St. Mary's, they always give them a little game.
Can you imagine our episodes if we're the number 1 overall?
I mean, they'll be
like we're.
Can you imagine our episode when we're number 1 overall and we choke in March?
Stop.
That's off. Let's end it on that note.
I'm just saying, like, if we watch Selection Sunday, we're the number 1 overall. We're going to be spitting takes.
Yeah. We need it. We deserve it. We've had 0 March fun since
2020
this podcast started.
Bullshit, dude. I couldn't stop thinking about the 2020 team all last night.
Can you stop tweeting about that? Every time I get on Twitter, it's like, oh, this team would have won it all. We get it. Please stop ruining my day every 2 hours.
Dude, college basketball sucked that year.
All right, we need to wrap this up. I'm ready for bed.
You old man.
Yeah, it's tough. B-turn will be up another 8 hours.
I went to bed at 10 this morning.
All right, well, that's it, folks. As always, thanks for listening. I'm riding the Hawks. I got the Hawks Saturday. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a great game. I'm so excited for March. This is going to be I'm starting to get the feeling of March, and I'm watching old YouTube videos, all that. It's here. I'm loving it. And
this is March.
Yeah, that's it.
Rock chalk.